Darian, he joins us from Manila. Richard, what sign is this joint military exercise sending to China?
Well, I mean, these exercises were meant to signal growing willingness by Southeast Asian countries to demonstrate their interoperability, their ability to work together as a collective. And of course, Indonesia, as this year's chairman of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, has recognized that the regional body has come a bit short, to put it mildly, when it comes to dealing with tensions and maritime problems within its own backyard. So this first ever ASEAN, I would say belated first ever ASEAN exercises, was meant to push back against critics and those who have been questioning so-called ASEAN centrality. The problem, though, is that what has turned out is not necessarily an all ASEAN exercises. And in fact, key exercises like live fire exercises were also omitted from these exercises. So it turned out as quite tepid compared to what many were expecting to take place at this point in time.
Now, China claims 90% of the South China Sea based on what's known as the 9-dash line. That line, of course, is a territorial demarcation line that China recognizes. Tell us more about the significance of that line.
Well, I mean, based on China's so-called 9-dash line, which now is effectively 10-dash line, because China just released a new map earlier this year, where it's claiming, more than 85% of the South China Sea basin all the way to Taiwan. Essentially, China is treating its adjacent waters as an extension of its territories. Some in China call it its blue national soil, and that's completely unacceptable for a whole host of nations, especially those in Southeast Asia, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, who also have land features under their control in the area, but also unacceptable for external powers from United States to India and even European powers who do not want a single country to dominate an international waterway through which trillions of dollars of trade passes through every year. So it's true that many countries have territorial disputes and maritime claims in the area, but China is claiming more than 85% of the entire basin, and some of China's claims, including claims to fisheries resources and oil and gas resources, is overlapping even with countries like Indonesia, which technically do not have a claim in South China Sea, but do have claims in the so-called North Tuna Sea.
How united would you say that ASEAN states are when it comes to China's claims?
I mean, actually, earlier this month, I was at the ASEAN Summit and attended one of the plenary sessions talking about this issue. I mean, to put it mildly, I don't think there's no ASEAN 10 position. I mean, the 10 countries within ASEAN having a unified position on dealing with these issues. We have a few ASEAN countries like Cambodia and Laos who are deeply dependent on China for their economic viability, and they have political elites, especially in the case of Cambodia, like strongman Hun Sen and his family, who are deeply entrenched in a kind of a China-led economic order in the region. But you have also countries like the Philippines, for instance, where I come from, which is a U.S. treaty ally and is expanding defense cooperation with the United States in order to push back against China's revanchist ambitions in the area. And then the rest of the region is actually trying to just play both sides. And that's why you heard a while ago in your report that Indonesia emphasizes neutrality. My problem is that it's nice to say you're neutral, but, when neutrality is actually allowing China to further dominate the area, that's not a very functional kind of neutrality. And I understand ASEAN countries do not want to make a choice, but not making a choice is a choice in itself and is increasingly a dysfunctional kind of choice, because at the end of the day, it's not the United States which is threatening countries in the region when it comes to the South China Sea disputes, but clearly it's China. So now there's a lot of pressure in ASEAN to do something about it. But this is the problem. Only Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei, together with Indonesia, attended these ASEAN drills. Philippines did not attend. Cambodia did not attend. And none of the exercises were close really to the South China Sea, nor did they involve real demonstration of naval prowess. So this was very tepid. So I think it comes short of what we need in this part of the world.
Richard, thank you very much for your analysis. That was Richard Hedarian in